If you must blink, do it now.
His mother gave up everything, including her own family ties, to save his life. What he's doing here is combining his imagination with the stories his mother has told him about his family.
If you forget any part of what I tell you, then our hero will surely perish.
To create a more powerful tale instead of one that's just a tragedy.
This was a happy story. But it could still be a whole lot happier.
Sometimes it feels like life isn't worth living when we lose the things and the people we care about. But how important it is to keep all that alive, because it helps us to remember who we are, where we've come from, what we've learned.
Telling stories and listening to stories grants the gift of immortality to the people you're telling the stories about. Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy. That guy is...
Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. What's going on?
I thought we would talk about a film featuring a 3-string guitar that is titled Kubo and the 2 Strings.
By Grabthar's Hammer, what a film.
By Grabthar's Hammer, by the Sons of Warvan, I shall avenge you.
So this is going to be something that is just not at all related to me at all. I would like you to be looking at Kubo and his relationship with his mother.
Okay.
And the psychological power of storytelling.
Ooh.
I have nothing to talk about here at all.
Yeah, well, especially as pertains to trauma healing. Man, this is a good show. Let's do this. She's not completely mute, but she doesn't say much.
Yeah.
Because she's been through some stuff. We see some parentification going on where he has to be the parent to his mother. He has to take care of her. Because sometimes she goes catatonic, sometimes she just gets lost in her own pain and her own trauma. Sometimes she shuts down. And he had to grow up really fast.
Yep. They do get to live in a very geometric cave, though, so that's nice.
Dude, so when we toured Laika, the actual sets that they build are so mind-blowing.
They're incredible. To be clear, we didn't get to actually tour
We didn't tour Laika.
It was an exhibit at a museum.
It was an exhibit at a museum, but it had all the actual Laika sets.
Yeah, and a bunch of the puppets and props and stuff.
So he's trying to engage with her with his origami, and it's just...
It's such a lovely scene. Like, no dialogue in that scene.
Yeah.
And we get so much story out of it. There's so much really solid facial acting from puppets.
Yeah.
Essentially, they just 3D printed a zillion facial expressions, and then they would swap the faces in and out per frame, which is like a really interesting blending of CG animation and live action, like stop motion.
His mother gave up everything, including her own family ties, to save his life. She risked her life, she endured serious injury, and he and her were very nearly killed.
Yeah.
By their family. And then we see later on just how much she lost. And what I love that's so beautiful, it's heartbreaking, but tender about this scene is he's used to this by now. There's not even a whole lot of sadness anymore for him that she doesn't talk. That, like, he feeds her because he loves her. And sometimes he tries to connect with her, and when it doesn't work, he goes, okay, I guess not today. Right? Because we see later, sometimes she comes out of it and they do engage. But he's like, okay, I guess not today, and he still puts his head on her shoulder, right? He's getting his emotional needs met at the minimalist level. Right? It's very, very sad. But also, there's a lot of kids who have to do this. Sometimes it's in cases of neglect, in which case I think even kids, it's harder for them because they know that they're being neglected. They know that something else is being chosen above them. Right. In Kubo's case, and in the case of other children, no, this is what my parent is able to do. It's not their fault, and I love them. Getting into debt is easy.
As easy as getting pulled into one of Kubo's magic origami stories.
But getting out of debt?
As difficult as standing up to your grandpa when he's turned into a Moon King dragon beast.
The system's set up so we don't get out of debt easily.
But PDS debt? might just be able to help you with that.
If you're struggling with credit cards,
Personal loans,
collections,
or medical bills,
you need to check out PDS Debt.
they're offering a free debt analysis.
It only takes 30 seconds.
Head over to pdsdebt.com/cinema to get your free debt assessment today.
PDS Debt could have really helped me fresh out of graduate school with paying off those student loans when I was not making much money.
They could have also helped me pay off a bunch of my debt and collections that happened right around the time I started working in the film industry. Film industry was not what caused it. It was poor decision making.
PDS provides a service to match you with debt solutions tailored to your financial situation.
They work to understand your specific scenario so they can provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free.
You can save more and pay off your debt in a fraction of the time.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies.
And there is no minimum credit score required.
Stop waiting and start saving. Get a free debt analysis at pdsdebt.com/cinema today.
It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/cinema.
pdsdebt.com/cinema.
Dude, the music in this movie,
It's so good.
so cool. But his guitar powers magic origami. Just go with it. But he uses it to tell stories for the villagers.
Hanzo, the orange paper samurai.
Hanzo was filled with rage, his soul tormented by the grief of a family stolen from him. At last, our hero was face to face with his nemesis, the Moon King.
Ruh-roh. So he's got the entire village
So be sure
enthralled.
to come back tomorrow.
Oh, come on. People like an ending.
That is how I felt at the end of every single episode of Lost.
I always have a plan.
This was directed by Travis Knight, and I think there's a certain amount of just like, hey, I love the magic of stop motion animation, so I'm just gonna do a whole scene that's just an homage to like how I feel about the medium I'm working in.
Yeah.
This is great. But also, it's a fun way to set up the powers that this character has, and the story that he tells is actually basically the story that we get to see going forward.
And so for him, storytelling is a way to process, because you don't know this at the time when you're watching the film for the first time, but he's telling the story of his family.
Yeah.
And he only has a cursory understanding of that. And so what he's doing here is combining his imagination with the stories his mother has told him about his family to create a more upbeat, uplifting, powerful tale instead of one that's just a tragedy, right?
Right.
He's turning it into something cool. And a lot of you can relate, we heal through various forms of artistic expression.
Yeah.
Whether
that's experiencing it or doing it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywhere from journaling to painting to filmmaking, people process and they work through things, or sometimes they work through things and then they express it.
Right.
But it is helpful. So that's true for Kubo, and that's true for all of us.
What was Father like?
Oh, this one is easy. Hanzo was a mighty warrior, skilled with sword and bow.
No. What was he really like? When he wasn't fighting. When he was with us.
He was just like you.
Like me?
Yes, strong and clever and funny and oh so handsome.
Mother.
Come on. Never forget how much he loved you, Kubo. He died protecting us.
Did the Moon King...
Your grandfather.
Did Grandfather and your sisters really kill my father? It can't be true, can it? They're family.
No, they are monsters. Grandfather and my sister stole your eye, Kubo. They must never find you again. Never. You must always stay hidden from the night sky or they will find you and they'll take you away from me. Promise me. You will never let this happen. Promise me, Kubo. Don't be sad, Kubo. Kubo. Remember what you must do, Kubo. Remember.
keep you with me at all times, Mr. Monkey. And keep Father's robe on my back at all times.
Yes, Kubo. And there's one more thing. Never, ever stay out after dark.
It's a serious scene, but I had to laugh because how great is it to hear Charlize Theron do a little monkey voice?
Do a little monkey voice.
Remember what you must do, Kubo.
When generational trauma became like a buzzword and people started talking about it, and then there was the pushback of like, oh, something that happened to your great-grandparents, it can't possibly affect you. That's stupid. It absolutely can.
Yeah.
There were lots of things that I was deeply afraid of well into adulthood that I then examined like in the cold light of day and was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why am I worried about this? And it's because, it's a terrible thing that happened literally to my grandparents or great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And it got passed down.
The biggest difference between that and this is there is a clear and present danger to Kubo.
Yeah.
That what she is saying to him is factual, and even though it's scary, and even though it's traumatic for him to hear that his family are monsters who tried to kill them, and that he shouldn't be out after dark, and to always keep the monkey with him, and to always wear the robe, which is really cool when we figure out why.
Why, yeah.
Yeah, but both those things. That all of that is factual, none of it is delusional, and she is keeping him safe.
Although at this point in the story, it seems like it could just be
Yeah.
that. And like, oh, he can probably go out at night. He's probably fine.
Yeah, and then, oh man, it's
And then he does.
It's
and
chilling.
it's not
Man,
right.
Laika does the scariest PG movies.
I don't know how they get PGs on these. Honestly, this one and Coraline, I'm like, how the hell did you swing a PG? That scared the shit out of me.
You may come out when you've learned to be a loving daughter.
Well, because it's not especially gory,
No,
but it is unsettling.
deeply unsettling.
So now Kubo's on an adventure with a giant beetle and a monkey.
As one does.
Before you started on your heroic quest,
Matthew McConaughey.
what were you like?
Well, I looked after my mother mostly. And I told stories about mighty warriors seeking revenge with battles and monsters and magic. I was pretty good at telling them. Not so good at ending them.
J.J. Abrams.
Sometimes I would tell my mother stories about little things, like skimming rocks across the river or catching fireflies in the mulberry fields. And when I told those stories, I could see her eyes were mostly clear. I could tell she saw me, really saw me. I could see her too, her real self, her spirit, trying to find its way out. It was beautiful.
You know something, Kubo? Back when you just told stories, before you went on this great adventure, you were still very much a hero.
That's a great line.
It is.
We're drawn to stories of heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And we love, since the time of like the Iliad, right? We've loved people accomplishing great deeds because it's engrossing and it's entertaining.
Cavemen, like,
Yeah.
100,000 years ago, we've got cave paintings of like Og the mighty warrior slaying the beast, right? Like, this is what we've done since humans crawled out of the mud.
When he says you were already heroic before you went on this grand quest, when you were bringing hope and enjoyment to the villagers in their daily life.
Yeah.
Like just that act of kindness, sharing your talents in a way that benefits and brings joy to people is an act of heroism. And I think we don't need to shoot big. We just need to shoot true, right? It comes integrity, kindness, developing these characteristics in yourself is an act of heroism.
Yeah. And I love that first taste of heroism that Kubo got was those moments when his mother was lucid and seeing him and being proud of his storytelling. Like when he saw his mother see him was that first taste he got of really being a hero.
Why does grandfather hate me?
Oh, Kubo. He doesn't hate you. He wants to make you just like him. Blind to humanity. As I once was. Only then can you take your place beside him as part of his family. Cold and hard and perfect.
I'll never be like him. Never.
I know.
I love the question. It's so childlike. Like, why does grandfather hate me?
Yeah.
And that's because, family expectations can be traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they don't line up with not even who you want to be, but if family expectations just don't line up at all with who you are, then, that can be absolutely horrible. And it's usually not coming from a malicious place.
Yeah. Monkey accurately observes Grandpa doesn't hate you. He just wants you to be like him, blind to humanity. And the issue with Grandpa, I love that wording, is that the people who hurt us, there are times that they are malicious, evil monsters. Like, those people do exist.
Sure.
More often, it's people who are blind. Not literally, but blind to what they are doing, the effect it is having.
Yep.
Or they see the pain, but they figure it's worth it because they're so sure of their position. And they're so sure that this is
the right way. And if you don't do it this way, it's going to cause you more pain in the long run or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Grandpa thinks he's helping. Grandpa thinks if you can be like me, then you can be cold and detached. And if you're cold and detached, then you don't feel the pain that the world feels. But then, of course, you also don't feel the connection and the warmth that the world feels. And you do atrocious things without realizing just how atrocious they are and how much pain they're causing. And Kubo, even at a very young age, in large part because of the influence of his mother, knows who he is and who he wants to be. And even more importantly, he knows who he's not.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, it gets to the heart of the issue. Is Grandpa evil, or is he just doing evil things? And we kind of get an answer at the end of the movie, but like, from here, what is your perspective on it?
As a therapist, because other people have other opinions, I generally don't think it's helpful to label anyone evil. Because if you tell someone that they are evil, they're going to tell you why they're good. If you tell someone why what they're doing is wrong, they're going to tell you why what they're doing is right. So I always prefer to say, okay, so what are you going for here? And then I always ask, is it working? And that question,
hey, how's your evil plan going?
No, like you want, okay, you're doing this to have a greater connection with your family member. How's that going for you? Right? Is it working? Let's explore why that's not working, or helping people understand, like, okay, good intentions don't always land, and sometimes they do harm. So I can allow, and if I have had Grandpa in therapy, I'd be like, I can see that you're doing what you're doing because you think it's the right thing to do and because you care about your grandson. Can we talk about the flip side of that? Can we talk about the pain and the trauma and consider that maybe you're not right? But that's a therapist's approach, right? I'm not saying everyone has to have that, but that's how I approach it because it opens people up to other possibilities.
Yeah.
But yes, he's evil.
One last look at this wretched place you call home.
Here's Grandpa.
I'm not leaving. For every horrible thing down here, there's something far more beautiful.
He's got two strings, one from his mom, one from his dad.
My father, I see it. Even with just one eye.
Then I'll just have to rip it out of your head again.
That shot.
If you must blink, do it now. I know why you want my eye. Because without it, I can't look into the eyes of another and see their soul. Their love.
Everything you loved is gone. Everything you knew has been taken from you.
No, it's in my memories.
The monkey
Powerful kind of magic there is.
and Beetle are gone.
Each lantern.
It makes us stronger than you'll ever be.
Each lantern is the memory of someone that was lost in the village.
These are the memories of those we have loved and lost. And if we hold their stories deep in our hearts, then you will never take them away from us. And that really is the least of it.
Hot damn. Holy crap, those visuals. Okay, I think my favorite shot of that entire film is that shot behind Kubo where Grandfather comes up and is just huge, right? it makes Grandpa feel so powerful and so overwhelming, and then to reverse it and come around and Kubo's like, no, I've got the power. It's just like, oh, movies! I love them!
Sometimes it feels like life isn't worth living when we lose the things and the people we care about.
Yeah.
I mean, oftentimes it's people in relationships, but also just like I sometimes get sad and melancholy thinking of times and places that you can't go back to. Like, you can go back to the place, but like that exact moment and how things were, you can't get back. And so we try to. We listen to the old songs, right? We read the old stories. We watch the old movies, the things that bring us back. We play the old video games, right? We have conversations with friends and family who were there, and then their memory sparks our memory, and we build on each other. Like, we do all these things. But how important it is to keep all that alive, because it helps us to remember who we are, where we've come from, what we've learned. And that's why it's so important. One of the reasons why it's so important to journal, in my opinion. Yes, I hope my posterity learns about me and learns from my life, but it also helps me to remember and to not forget the people and the experiences that matter so much to me. Because really, with all the hardship, even with all that, my life is the greatest blessing I've received.
Right.
And I remember that when I keep a record of it.
Where am I?
Hello, Grandfather.
Hello. What happened to your eye?
Don't you remember?
I'm sorry, young man, but I seem to have forgotten my story. Can you help me?
I'll tell him. No, we'll all tell him. We'll tell him everything he needs to know. You are the kindest, sweetest man to ever live in this village.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Every day you walk around smiling and handing out coins to children, like me.
And old women.
Oh.
You taught my kids to swim.
What?
And you give blankets to the poor.
You're a good man.
You fed the hungry. You always lend to help.
I love that none of this is true, but they're like, that's okay.
Yeah.
If he believes it, he'll do it.
Well, and this is the story we want
You know, we
to be true of that.
have something in common. We both adore your grandson. His name is Kubo.
Kubo. I'm sorry, but I don't remember.
Well, your grandson's a storyteller. He'll tell you all the stories you've forgotten.
Really?
Of course.
There's a pro and con to this.
They're lying is the con. It's all a big lie.
You know, it's a lie I can get behind, because the alternative is to remind him that he's a murderous warmonger.
Yeah.
So this is the far better alternative.
Generally, given our history, we have a sort of plan and an idea of what our future is going to be, and we can change that anytime we want. We can rewrite it. We can become kind and give coins to little kids and blankets to poor people.
Yeah. With a balance of holding people accountable, there's something to be said for if you treat someone like they are kind, if you treat someone like they are good, if you treat someone like you believe in them, they will often fall in line with that.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when we are at our worst is because people don't believe in us. It's because they see the worst in us. It's because they nurture the worst in us. And so we follow that suit. I'm trash, so I might as well act like trash, right? And we can help others to see their worth that's already there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact is, if Grandpa had chosen a different path long ago, he could have been this kindly old man. And because all of that got erased from his mind, they said, okay,
here's the new version of Grandpa.
Yeah, let's steer him to where he always could have been.
The thing that I love the most about this movie is, the whole movie is about storytelling and how telling stories grants the gift of immortality to the people you're telling the stories about. Mm. But the really fascinating thing about that is the grandfather had a story that made him immortal. And when he forgot that story, he became mortal again, right?
Yeah.
He just became an old man. But that means he gets to rewrite his story and become a better version of himself, not a cold, hard, scary space fish. You mentioned earlier in this episode the Iliad. Mm-hmm. These are stories that have been handed down for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Storytelling has the power to do that. 1,000 years from now, people are going to be talking about Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
That's just going to happen.
And Christian Grey.
Equally classic. It's just like, oh, I love them. Telling stories and listening to stories and watching movies has actual real power to change and uplift and enlighten and scare the shit out of us. So I love Kubo and the Two Strings, and I love that we get to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. What would you like to see next from us of Laika movies?
So until next time.
If I'm Beetle and you're Monkey, why isn't he called Boy?
If you must blink, do it now.
And
watch movies. We want to thank our patrons, people that get amazing, long, like this one, director's cuts, and a bunch of other cool stuff, ad-free. People like
Shannon D,
Brianna,
Meli Magana,
Abby,
and Rebel Blueberry. Wow, Rebel Blueberry is...
Blueberry is a great name. Kudos to you, Kubos.